Good afternoon. My name is Lawrence Green, and I will again give a speech on the state of Libya and Gaddafi. One week, Mohammed El-Ghari was a California University student with a job in a cell phone store and occasional weekend gigs as a party DJ. The next week, the 22-year-old American of Libyan descent was deep in the Libyan desert with a band of rebel fighters firing a rifle at troops sent by ruler Gaddafi. El-Ghari is among a wave of Libyan exiles who rushed back to their homeland after the anti-Gaddafi uprising erupted a couple of months ago. It's a movement some have been waiting for decades. Since the start of the conflict, when opposition forces seized most of the eastern half of Libya's Mediterranean coast, hundreds of Libyans have returned from the United States, Europe, and elsewhere to lend their skills to the rebel cause. They've entered at all levels, joining the political leadership in the de facto opposition capital, Benghazi, treating wounded fighters in field hospitals and even taking up arms. They are one element in what has emerged as a multifaceted opposition movement, incorporating breakaway figures from Gaddafi's regime. Descended army officers and their units, elite urban professionals, and the populations of Libya's eastern cities and towns. The Libyans flowing in from abroad say they've come to offer skills rendered scarce resources during Gaddafi's 42 years of power. Tahuni, age 60, said he last set foot in Libya in 1976, shortly after leaving to pursue a master's and doctorate in economics at Michigan State University. From abroad, he watched the regime's brutality. On April 7, 1977, Gaddafi publicly hanged several opposition figures in Benghazi. In the 80s, Tahuni found his own name on one of Gaddafi's hit lists, he said. Tahuni lived a double life for 4 years, building an U.S. academic career while helping organize opposition to Gaddafi abroad. When the uprising broke out on February 17th, he took a few days to organize his affairs, then returned to Libya. His plan now was to muster all the resources under his control, finances, oil, and other things to liberate the rest of Libya. Though expatriates have come home to help the movement, the leadership is still dominated by local elements on the ground. Unlike Iraq, for example, where the opposition in exile played a central role in leadership following Saddam Hussein's 2003 ouster, there is a thriving Libyan opposition movement in exile, built up over the decades as descendants fled abroad from persecution by Gaddafi and organized themselves in Europe, the U.S., and Arab countries against his rule. Via the internet and indirect contact with activists on the ground, those exile organizations played a significant role in organizing and spreading the word about the initial protest in Benghazi that launched Libya uprising on February 15th. The Obama administration deserves a lot of credit so far for its forbearance over Libya, as it did with the Egypt uprising, as we're all aware of, refusing to move aggressively against Mubarak while making it clear that the United States wanted him to quit. In Libya, the United States has essentially rejected a no-fly zone, stayed away from threats of military attack against Gaddafi's positions up until recently. Some of you may be aware of the strike that killed Gaddafi's son and 3 grandchildren. And initially, the United States was kind of strayed away from the foreign aid, but that has also come into play as a part of their tactic. But now with the East on its way to being liberated, they haven't moved back in an organized way to take a role in the uprising leadership. Mohammed Abdullah, the Dubai-based Deputy Secretary General of one exile group, the National Front for the Salvation of Libya, has not decided on an organized return yet. He said that groups have not been in direct cooperation with the National Transitional Council, which is made up of mainly former reformists in Gaddafi's regime who broke away, and of representatives from opposition-held cities. The return of Libyans to their homeland has largely been a matter of personal initiative, people inspired to join in. At the uprising starts, Mohammed Mofad, 28, was in Atlanta, Georgia, doing surgery training on a scholarship from Gaddafi's government. Using a fake Facebook name to protect his family, he joined the first calls to protest in Benghazi, then rushed home when the violence started. Within days, he and other doctors were treating blast wounds inflicted by the munition of Gaddafi forces at a field hospital near the front. So a new day is imminent, and in my opinion, it's not going to take any single external government to bring the day of democracy and freedom to materialization. It would take the people, both whom are there and those who still have families and states that reside there. But as we all know, anything can happen. Just this past summer, when I gave my first speech in Dr. Hasan's class on the state of Libya, exposing Gaddafi's crimes against humanity, no one, not even I, thought that the Libyans would be on the verge of freedom. So anything is possible if we continue to lift Libya up in our present urge our government here in the U.S. to do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.